The time has come for Taylor Walls to claim his rightful prize.
You are Locked On Rays, your daily Tampa Bay Rays podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked On Rays podcast. The Locked On Rays is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And we are Kevin and Ulysses.
And we are lifelong Rays fans who have been podcasting about the Tampa Bay Rays since 2019.
Later on today's show, we discuss a Rays player who could be a surprising Gold Glove candidate in the future. In a few minutes, we take a look at some of the best defensive players in Rays history. But to start, why Taylor Walls is deserving of a Gold Glove this year.
And we're going to talk about all of that thanks to FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5. And if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Download the app today. Kevin, I'll say it loud. I'll say it proud. I'll say it twice. Taylor Walls deserves the Gold Glove in 2025. Taylor Walls deserves the Gold Glove in 2025.
Yes, by many defensive metrics and numbers, in fact, and figures, there is a very cogent argument why he should win the Gold Glove. Does that mean he'll win it this year? Not necessarily, but he is probably if there was a chance, an opportunity for him to win a Gold Glove in any year, it would be this year based on the track record that he put forth over the course of the season.
Yeah, and let's be honest, the Gold Glove, sometimes it's voted with things that might not be defensively speaking.
I.e. name recognition, i.e. offense, i.e. numbers of games played, i.e., you hobnob with some of the fellow managers and coaches. There could be myriad number of reasons. There's really only one outlier that I believe over time, and that would be Andrelton Simmons. And Taylor Walls, as good as he is defensively, I don't know if he's as regarded across the league for his defense as Andrelton Simmons was.
Right, exactly. And guess what? Let's give you guys some numbers so that you understand the concept of why we think that Taylor Walls deserves the Gold Glove in 2025. He led the American League in defensive runs saved at shortstop with 17, according to the Fielding Bible. And the most recently published Saber Defensive Index graded him as the top fielding shortstop in all of baseball. Let's not forget, this guy got hurt and missed all of September and part of August as well. So that should give him a bump. And let's remind folks, to qualify for the Gold Glove, a player needs 698 innings in the team's first 138 games. Walls has 720 innings at shortstop for the entire season. Again, he got hurt. So he has the innings. He's got the metrics. But does he have the backing of 75% of managers and coaches in the league? And that's where the verdict lies.
My thought would be no. And I think we're on the same page that there has to be at least one season in Taylor Walls' MLB career that he wins a Gold Glove. This would be a great shot to do it. The unfortunate part is the other finalists that he's going up against are Corey Seeger and Bobby Witt Jr. respectively. Those are much more punchy names, if you will, across the land of baseball. The other thing, too, is while Taylor Walls qualifies with the innings and games, and he has all the defensive runs saved metrics, he missed the last 7 weeks of the season with a lower body strain that ultimately required sports hernia surgery. And that signals, as we as humans have a tendency to do, is focus on recency bias. And if you're one of these managers or coaches that are looking at this, they might be focused on what they saw from August to October, and they did not see Taylor Walls anywhere to be found. And I think that could be very troubling for his case.
Yeah, and you talk about late in the season, for example, the Rays played Cleveland in the last week of August and first week of September, something like that, right? So that means that Stephen Vogt is not voting for Taylor Walls, most likely, right? Like you'd like to see the guys that you are voting for, instead of in clips, you probably playing against you. So maybe that's a vote that might not go his way. Maybe Stephen Vogt is an avid Taylor Walls fan and we don't know about it, and he watches clips right before he goes to bed off Taylor, and that would be great because then he could get the vote. But we don't know that. So you make a great point. With the last weeks, maybe some coaches, some managers might be more of the ilk of what have you done for me lately, and recency bias definitely can get in there. But having said that, the point is he does deserve the Gold Glove. Like this,
yes, that's the ultimate key of this segment takeaway is he deserves it. He deserves it this year, and he probably deserved it in previous years.
Right, but again, he deserves it this year because the thing is, man, how many other opportunities will Taylor Walls have to rake that much innings at a major league ball club, knowing what he brings offensively to a club? Not a lot. So this is the chance, and he deserves it. Now, I want to be positive, but I will say, even though he deserves it, I will still be surprised if he is picked over Bobby Witt and Corey Seeger, because he does have the numbers, but not the punchy name, like you said.
Correct. And just to be nominated is impressive. I mean, he was the only Rays player to get the nomination in 2025. In the third segment, we talked about a player who might be a future nominee as soon as 2026, perhaps, or 2027. But you hit the nail on the head with Taylor Walls. As he gets older, and I know he's only 28, 29 right now. I mean, the Rays are clearly looking for a full-time shortstop that can do it all, that can run, that can hit, that can play defense. Taylor Walls, we know, can't hit, even though he did a little bit better offensively than I think we initially expected. He actually had his highest WAR season in his Rays tenure. But he's with his defense alone, he'll be able to squeak onto a major league roster somewhere, somehow, for probably the next 5 to 8 years. He's just that good defensively. But I think we're at the point where we can acknowledge that he's not an everyday player in terms of he might very well play every day as a defensive replacement, but he's not the guy that I think that teams can stomach giving 450 to 500 to 600 plate appearances to, unless you're one of those unicorn teams that has 8 other offensive maniacs and you can deal with a struggling offensive shortstop. But how many teams like that are there out there?
No, there's the one, and it's Dodger Blue, baby. Yeah. So I mean, that he would.
I think they're pretty set right now,
and they're pretty set at Mookie Betts at shortstop. So I think they're okay. So from deserving 2025 recognition to recognizing his place within the Rays franchise, let's discuss the all-time Rays defensive podium.
The NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer that you do not want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. It undoubtedly makes watching football even more exciting when you've got a little extra something riding on the action. And whether you're a casual fan or love diving into the stats, FanDuel, they make the game day experience so much better. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started.
Thank you for joining us at Locked On Rays, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Taylor Walls ranks among the Rays' best defensive players. And Kevin, I think he should make the podium.
Yeah, if you look at defensive runs saved in franchise history, you can make a strong argument that he should be on that podium. Number one on that podium is, of course, the defensive wizard himself, the outlaw, Kevin Kiermaier. somewhere else on that podium. You might say number 2 even. Well, depending on who you are. Evan Longoria has got to be somewhere on the podium. I mean, you don't win 3 Gold Gloves by accident. And then Taylor Walls, I think, deserves a spot on that podium as well.
And I think with KK, we've given him plenty of flowers, and we'll never stop giving him flowers. I just want to say that he's number 1, and I will always forever mention this whenever I have the chance to do so. Joe Girardi had a game. The game was called the Kiermaier game, and the game consisted of seeing a fly ball into the outfield and thinking, would Kiermaier catch that?
Yeah.
The answer was always yes, people. That's how good Kiermaier was. So he's number 1.
Yeah, he's number 1. And to that point, to that end, I mean, you can call this hot takey if you want, but I think in our lifetimes, we won't see a better defensive player or that put up the defensive numbers that Kevin Kiermaier did. He is a once in a multiple generation defensive talent. The only thing we wished is that he would stay a little bit healthier, because then the defensive numbers would be even that much more crazy, which when you consider that he was doing everything that he did, half of every season was at Tropicana Field in that artificial turf, even makes it that much more impressive. Plus the lighting and the beige color of the stadium, like it. We see how many times it's difficult for players to track fly balls, but he did it like it was second nature, of course.
And when you look at defensive runs saved, KK's got 133, but let's look at Taylor Walls with his 52. Now, yes, Taylor Walls has only 2,704 innings at shortstop. So there's obviously there's a discrepancy there because KK got 6,396, but you kind of double that. He's already at triple digits, would be like, let's say 104. Kiermaier's 133. He's not even touching the 6,300 innings. So like, if we're giving so many kudos and bouquets as Kiermaier should get, Taylor Walls, like comparison wise, percentage wise, with what he has played innings wise, he's almost there with KK. And if we're giving KK like, oh my gosh, we're never going to see that again, which I agree with you. He was insane. Walls is right behind him, dude.
Right. I think KK was the only guy that you could argue that you could probably get away with a 2-man outfield.
Yes.
If KK was playing and available for you. Now, I will say this about the difference between KK and Taylor Walls, besides the fact that one's a shortstop and one's a center fielder. Beyond defensive runs saved, if you look at outs above average and fielding run value, pretty much any defensive metric that you look at is extremely glowing in more ways than one towards Kevin Kiermaier. Whereas with Taylor Walls, for one reason or another, and I don't think we or anybody has gotten to the bottom of it, he does not rank as high, or doesn't rank very well in some of those StatCast categories or baseball savant categories.
And funnily enough, we know that the Rays have been asked that, and their answer was, we trust our internal metrics better than the ones that are out there publicly.
Right.
So, I mean, we can't deny that, because like we don't have that proprietary knowledge. So if they trust it, okay, fine. We can only judge on what we see publicly. So I know that when people say, well, the difference, the discrepancy, sure, it's really there, but they must know something. They must grade him differently because they kept putting him out there. And to the eye test, which if you watch some 90s baseball, you were used to doing some eye tests. Maybe the young viewers are not used to doing that. They just go directly to Baseball Savant and Fangraphs and BREF. But do the eye test, and boy, oh boy, the eye test does check out with Taylor Walls. He's just smooth. He's always there when the ball is hit to him. And
in a pressure situation where you need an out on a ground ball or a line drive,
easy.
That's who you want to hit. That's who, if you're Zach Littell or whomever, that's who you're trying to get the ball to. If you can't strike
exactly. One thing about Taylor Walls is the preparation right before the pitch.
Right.
It's if you get to see him live, you'll see he is a machine. The little hops, stop. Little hops, stop. Like every single pitch, he's always on it. I mean, you have to be if you're a shortstop, if you're an infielder, but there's just a difference in quality,
Right.
and you can definitely see the preparation there.
Yeah, and then of course Evan Longoria, we can't forget about him.
No.
For those youngins out there, yes, but besides the offensive numbers and ranking among uh, leaders in team history and many offensive categories, he did have multiple Gold Gloves to his name, and I think sometimes we don't appreciate the fact of what he was able to do at the hot corner as far as making throws to second to start a double play and the bare hand throws across his body. He did a lot. You can tell he was the all-around player. And maybe, I don't know who he was up against for some of those Gold Gloves, but fine, if you want to bring up the argument that he only won one of the Gold Gloves because his name was Evan Longoria and he had some cachet, fine, you can do that, but he still won them at the end of the day.
And the funny thing is that even if that was the route that people wanted to go, that he won just because of his name, he won him like in his first 3 years too.
Right.
So like the name wasn't even out there that much, like to what it ended up being. With Evan, he was fantastic. Two things with Evan you can always remember if you watch him play: the feeds to second base.
Yes.
Always at the second base or shortstop's chest. Just perfect feeds to start the double play. That was awesome. And the second thing that I can remember very clearly is coming in on the ball, bare hand, throw across his body to get the out at first. He was a legend for that.
Yes. And then of course, I mean, those are really the main three. And now it remains to be seen, who else can maybe be added to the podium in the future. I don't know if anybody on the current roster is up to the level of Kiermaier, Walls, and Longoria, but you never know in the future. And we joke about it. I mean, the Rays should, give Kevin Kiermaier 6 figures to come back and work with Chandler Simpson or whomever is roaming center field. I mean, he's got a lot of institutional knowledge, especially at the Trop. And the Rays are going to be playing at the Trop for the next couple of years. I would think that would be a benefit and maybe something that the new owners can weave in as a feel-good story, a good PR move, if you will. But, it's not our money to spend. It's theirs. So that'll be a conversation for another day, perhaps. But looking ahead, there is one player that we haven't mentioned that perhaps could surprise people with a Gold Glove nomination in the future, maybe as soon as 2026.
This episode is brought to you by PrizePicks, the daily fantasy app where making the right call can actually pay off. Isn't that nice? And you and I make decisions every day. Kevin does as well. But on PrizePicks, being right means cashing. And wouldn't it be nice to be right and get some green Skittles back? Well, PrizePicks does exactly that. It's quick, easy, and everybody's favorite way to follow along with football. So today, download the PrizePicks app and use code LOCKEDONMLB. You get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. So again, download the PrizePicks app, use code LOCKEDONMLB, and you get $50 in lineups after your first $5 play. PrizePicks, it's good to be right.
Thank you for listening to the Locked On Rays podcast and making us your very first listen every day. We appreciate it. We are, of course, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. One player who could be a nominee for the Gold Glove in the 2026 season is not just Taylor Walls, but Jonathan Aranda. Jonathan Aranda, of all people, could have a really good shot in the future if you look at the number of defensive runs saved he had this past year in comparison to the amount of innings played. It is pretty remarkable, and it's all kind of funny in one way because one of the big knocks on Jonathan Aranda is that he has poor mobility skills and poor quickness and poor speed. But I guess if you're a primary first baseman, you don't need all that. It's one step to the left, one step to the right. And can you can you snatch a ball from a second baseman, a shortstop, or a third baseman high up in the air or down on the ground? Can you lean left or right with your glove? It's wingspan at that point. But it is kind of surprising because I don't think that as much as we've talked about Jonathan Aranda this past season, it's mainly been for his offensive exploits and not necessarily his defensive exploits.
You remember when Ji-Man Choi became the first baseman for the Rays, and we're like, what? He can't even do this. And then he became the splits guy.
Yeah,
like,
the splits guy.
I think with Jonathan Aranda, something similar happened where you're not really that enthused about the glove, but the work behind the scenes led you to believe, hey, this guy's actually pretty good. And when you take a look at the other nominees this year, it was Carlos Santana, Ty France, and Vladito. They were all nominated. When you look at the amount of innings, Santana had 848 innings. France had 976. Vladito had the most, 1,100 innings, right?
Yeah.
They had, respectively, 12, 9, and 8 defensive runs saved. Jonathan Aranda with 765, about 200 innings less. He was at 7 defensive runs saved. So, if he would have gotten more playing time, the math adds up that he could have rivaled for Carlos Santana in that American League defensive run save board rank. So, I am kind of bullish on this. I do think that Jonathan Aranda does have a really good shot in 2026 to get a Gold Glove, more than Junior, Carson Williams, Brandon Lau, name
any of the outfielders.
I think Jonathan Aranda, funnily enough, is the guy who has the best shot at a Gold Glove next year.
Yeah, we're all rooting for him. It's just key, and can he stay healthy for an entire season? And I think, him being an all-star and his name recognition starting to peak up a little bit will only help him with, a Gold Glove nomination, because again, it's also partially an offensive award there. And I also think it helps that, as much as the Rays value versatility in a guy that can play multiple positions, sometimes in order for a guy to thrive defensively, you got to be, okay, I'm just a shortstop, I'm just a first baseman, and you can get really, really good and really, really hyper focused on that one position. And I think that's also probably what helped Taylor Walls, is mainly focusing on short instead of being moved around from second and third as necessity called for it. But yeah, that'll be something to monitor in 2026, is do we continue to see the strides defensively from Aranda? And beyond defensive runs saved, I actually took a moment to look at his Savant page, and he's got good metrics as far as the outs above average goes as well. So at least you have multiple stats kind of talking to each other and being on the same wavelength of, yeah, he's a solid defensive first baseman.
And Carlos Santana is not 22, folks.
No, I honestly don't know how he's still in the league. He's like Julio Franco.
He's going to someday retire. It could be in 13 years, sure. And Ty France, up and down career. Vladito, people get fatigued about giving the award to the same guy over and over and over again. So again,
a guy who's got $500 million now in the bank, and who knows, maybe he fattens up a little bit, gets out of shape, something happens here and there. I mean,
you never know,
man. First player that gets paid and then stagnates after that, where I would expect and think that there's a lot of motivation on the part of Jonathan Aranda. And then Carlos Santana, I'm trying to look it up real quickly, the fountain of youth, how he's still around. Holy cow.
I'm gonna say 38.
Well, I Googled Carlos Santana, and it's the guitar player.
Yeah, guitar player. Yeah, nice.
He's not the most famous Carlos Santana that we know of. How crazy is that? Carlos Santana is 39 years old, and basically right after opening day 2026, he will be 40 years old. He's 39 days, basically 39 and a half. And his birthday is, in April.
Okay, so this is the Carlos Santana segment. There you go,
And
guys.
he's played since 2010. So he is entering his 16th year in the league. Hall, a very good dude. I'm not going to give you his WAR because I might save that for a future question.
I think that's a great idea. Yeah, when he's no longer active. People, I know that if we were to like name the episode and put this last one as a Jonathan Aranda will win the Rays Gold Glove in 2026, it would feel clickbaity, and you guys would be like, dude, why are you doing this? You don't need to be clickbaity. Just give us the good content you always do. And you know what? We do that. So hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. You know you like us. Come on, help us out.
Yeah. Well, Taylor Walls did. He texted me personally and called me and emailed me and left a voicemail. And I think sent me some snail mail as well, saying that,
did he Discord you? Did he Discord you?
I've not checked the Discord yet, but I'm sure there's a message there. But basically, he is suggesting that, hey, can you have an episode that positively highlights my defensive merits? And that's what we're going to give him today.
We're going to give it to Taylor, and I hope he enjoys this episode. But people, really, I want to know, who do you think from the Rays could win the Gold Glove in 2026? Again, I understand that if you just hear us saying Jonathan Aranda, you're going to say, oh, they're blowing up smoke. This is a hot take. What are they doing? I don't like it anymore. Guys, look at the numbers. I would put Jonathan Aranda above Caminero, Carson, because of playing time. Brendan Lau has never even been close. Jake Mangum, Chandler Simpson, they have to grow a lot. Josh Lowe, buddy, I don't even know if you're going to be with the Rays before April. The catching system, we don't even know who's going to be catching, really. Could be Danny Jansen come back if he doesn't sign that player option. Look,
it could be Tatum Levens.
Exactly. So, people, I understand. You might think not. I just implore you, look at Jonathan Aranda's numbers, and you're going to end up agreeing with us.
On that note, thank you for listening to the Locked On Rays podcast and making us your very first listen every day. We do appreciate it, and we will talk to you later.